Hey Reddit, what's that one super cringy or awkward thing you said did in the past that you keep having flashbacks to? Allowing myself to be filmed for an HBO documentary where I pulled down my pants and shot dope in my legs. I think about it a lot. I also have the scars to remind me. This was a couple months ago. I was going to the gas station to get something to drink. I got 2 sodas for $2. I go to the cash register, the cashier says your total is $2.09. I get my wallet out and pull $2 out and I hand her the $2. She says, do you have change? I thought they said, do you want your change, and I said yes. We stare at each other for 15 seconds until she says, do you have 9 cents? I look in my wallet again for 9 cents and say no. I had another dollar in my wallet, but it didn't come to mind to use that for the 9 cents. We stare at each other for another 15 seconds and she says, I guess you can pay me back next time you come by. Took me the ride home to realize what she said. Haven't been to that store since. Also, every time I pass by the store I remember that awkward moment. 16-year-old me on 9/11. Feeling all of the what if I don't have tomorrow feels. Walked right up to the boy I'd been pining over for the past year. Hugged him and told him I loved him. He stood there, arms awkwardly at his sides and said nothing. I bolted. He is now a cashier at the local Walmart, where I am forced to shop upon occasion. Small town. I still cringe so hard every time I see him, even though it was literally half a lifetime ago and I'm happily married with 3 kids. I can't bring myself to go through his line. You should just go in his line and kind of make attempts to hug him across the conveyor belt while saying we'll always have 9/11. I'm constantly deleting my Facebook memories. Like, in one I said something about I saw a white grandfather playing basketball with his black grandchild. It made me feel good about the world, or something along those lines. A black co-worker commented, hey, Alan, will you be my grandpa? Yeah, I check Facebook at 12 every single night just to delete all my memories. My future self is probably thanking me right now. I quit my job a few years back in a fit of passion. I went to the bathroom before I left, then went and said goodbye to some co-workers and give a final frick you to my boss. In my distracted and emotional state, I didn't realize that I had accidentally tucked the dress that I was wearing into my stockings and didn't realize until I had left the building. So much cringe. First day at a new job, wearing epic new dress, feeling great. Get off bus only to have stranger ask whether I knew about the hole. I gave her a confused look. She specified the hole in the back of your dress. To make it worse, I was wearing my Batman underwear at the time because superhero panties will make me feel protected on my first day at a new job. When I was in 4th grade I made fun of a kid for having long hair and I said he looked like a girl. Genius me forgot that I also had hair past my shoulder. I am also a boy. I used to have super long, really straight hair. One day, I had just woken up from sleep after going to bed with wet hair. Hadn't looked in a mirror. Michael Bolton was on TV and had just gotten his hair cut. I was like, good. He finally cut off all that stupid looking hair. My stepdad bursts out laughing. I look in a mirror. I looked far worse than Mike Bolton ever did. I had a principal say if you die, let me know as reassurance it was going to be alright when he was applying ointment and a bandage to an injury I had. 9-year-old me decided that it would be a good thing to say to my grandma before her surgery. She made it through without any complications, but I'll never forget the burning look of disapproval my mom shot at me in that moment. I used the phrase so that you can stand on your own 2 legs to the girl who had gotten her right leg amputated less than a month earlier. I once overheard my friend tell his double-leg amputee girlfriend how much he admired Carrie Underwood's legs. They're now engaged. Oh, you mean the time when my first kid was about to be born? We're all, me, the doctor, a midwife in training, my mother-in-law, and of course me wife, sitting there waiting for things to advance. The good doctor gives a reach to see if baby's getting close and then asks if I'd like to feel the head coming down the pipes. I said yeah sure without really thinking through the factors, was about to manually enter my wife with my mom-in-law looking on. I started to ease a first finger inside when the doctor said, wrong hole. If that dang baby hadn't been in the way I might have crawled in there with. When I was in high school I found out my boyfriend at the time had not considered us monogamous and banged a few people. Was it cheating? Was it idiotic teenagers with no communication skills? We will never know. I was livid and somehow thought my best revenge was to drunkenly demand he pay me for the sex we had while he was banging other people. On Facebook, on his wall, publicly. I also followed it up with a link to Henry Rollins' Liar with a thinking of you comment attached to it. I have more where that came from, but for now I'll stop there. The poor kid. Bet your butt there's screenshots of that out there. I used to call the intern working for me jokingly as coffee slave. She had a really good sense of humor. She left and my boss told me her replacement intern was sitting in the same cube. To break the ice, I approached her cubicle by saying I heard my new coffee slave is here. She was black. That's a real Michael Scott moment right there. I used to howl at the moon just because I fell in love with an animated female character from a movie. Now, every time when I looked at the moon, that flashback never failed to occur. When I was around 12-13 years old, I had a girl who liked me, and I reciprocated without thinking properly, since having a girlfriend was like a blessing. So, I had the idea of a cliche from movies, where you would write a love letter and insert it into a clear glass bottle, and throw it into the sea, and someday, she will receive it and be showered with bliss upon reading it. My mom would tease me about it when she remembers it. That second one's kind of sweet. When I was 16 or so I went on some cultural exchange trip to Japan. As part of it I visited an elementary school. The little kids were asking us any question in English they could form. A girl, probably around 10, came up to me and asked, "What's your favorite anime?" Well, being the freaking weeb I was, I told her my favorite childhood anime, then my top 3 current favorites, in English and Japanese of course. The girl looked a little confused, but we were getting moved along so I smiled and waved goodbye. That night I realized she'd asked my favorite animal. Animal, not anime. I still think about her blank expression and cringe. Don't worry, I bet the girl doesn't even know what Boku no Pico is. A friend of mine was going through a rough divorce. When she got married her husband pretty much made her cut ties with everyone, so it had been about 10 years since we really talked. She vagabonded on Facebook about being really down, so I thought it would be funny to link her a song called Hole Solution in which the singer graphically describes how the subject of the song needs a hole in his head. You need a hole in your head. I want to see you come oozing out is the chorus. Sueu. It turns out that the reason she was so down was not because of the divorce, but rather because it was the anniversary of her brother-in-law's murder. Yeah, he was shot in the head. I picked literally the worst song I know. Me. I like you : 3. No reply. Me. Hey. Sorry that was my friend on my ACC LOL. P. Her. UUH okay fair enough. Me. Yeah he is such an idiot. He was just messing with you. Unless you like me back. P. D. 3 inches. Frick those MSN Messenger days. Shudders. A textbook example of what you find in text compilations. This literally changes every week or so, but I have one in mind. Last month, it was the moment I had at a coffee shop. The window was lit brightly by the sun. I was sitting near the back, anticipating that a friend would be there at any time. I saw my friend's silhouette entering. I excitedly stood and rushed toward them, arms wide, loudly cooing our crappy pet name for each other, many people looking up from their tasks to see what the hubbub was about. I was just so excited. I'm sure you have guessed, it wasn't my friend. I was halfway through the shop when I realized it had walked past every single person sitting at their tables. Instead of quietly returning to my seat, I sputtered out the most guttural, horrific, flag me guffaw laugh I have ever heard, let alone produced. I sprayed spittle on a person's food sitting nearby. I had fully tilted at this point. I tried to funnily twirl around to return to my seat and ran into a waiter. Hard, at which point I announced, in a goofy, bizarre voice that in my head would say joking but out loud came across as pure screaming. Sorry about that. By this point, almost everyone was staring. The problem was that their expressions weren't even judgmental, they just looked concerned. I collected my things and left soon after. Of course my purse fell off of my shoulder and knocked several things out of my hands on the way out. Haven't been back. It just got worse and worse. Somehow convinced myself that the hot Brazilian girl who had voluntarily left a party to come back to my dorm with me and got into bed with me didn't want to do anything more than sleep, and we laid there awkwardly until 3 in the morning when she left. It gets worse. I had been infatuated by her for months and we had actually made out at a party toward the beginning of that timeline. I asked her out soon after and she said that it was complicated because she had a BF back in Brazil. Months went by and she told me over a drunken text that she liked me but couldn't break up with her BF yet because he was about to come visit for an extended time. A month later, over winter break, she excitingly told me that she had broken up with her BF. The party happened the first weekend we got back. I've come to terms with it and decided that I dodged bullet in the long run had it turned into something more than a one night stand. But that one night might just have been worth it. Jesus Christ, man. Just how? I didn't know how to hook up with girls in high school, so one time on the couch I just started massaging her feet. Oh, the cringe, oh god. Still not over it. You were able to touch her feet. That's got to be some kind of achievement. When on a phone I was talking to a service person of a department store of which I was trying to buy a solar set. Operator. Good morning, how may I help you? Me. Morning ma'am. I am asking for the selling price of the solar set that is offered in the ads. The model 140 BG. Operator. You Yes sir. That would be $99. Me. Okay ma'am, if I paid online how soon would it be delivered? Operator. It will be delivered within 7 working days. Me. Thanks ma'am. I will fill up the online form right now. Operator. Thanks sir. My name's Henry and if you want to call again you can call me and I will assist you for any help when purchasing your items online. Me. UHH. Thanks sir. While wearing my Limp Bizkit hoodie and red Yankees cap, some kid asked if I liked Limp Bizkit. I sorta giggled and said guilty before erupting into laughter. I was with friends. They didn't laugh. Neither did the kid or his friends. Just me. Just me. In middle school, a bunch of us were tickling each other during a dance as an excuse to touch the boys, and I went to tickle a girl as she moved and accidentally grabbed her boob. I can still see her look of shock 16 years later. Basically everything my 9th grade self posted on Facebook. One in particular came after I told a friend about the girl I had a crush on, which was basically the equivalent of giving him the nuclear launch codes as far as I was concerned. I got super paranoid and wrote an anonymous post basically saying, you know who you are, keep your mouth shut. The kicker is that the girl I liked, still like, unfortunately, messaged me being all like, out of the office, what's this about, and I didn't confess. Oh, missed opportunities. Cringe. Bro, message her now and just tell her. This is probably pretty minor, but it was really awkward in the moment. I was telling a senior doctor at my job about a project I was working on that would benefit her and other doctors. I'm support staff. I was telling her to let me know if she had any additional ideas for the project. However, I combined shoot me a message and hit me up into shoot me up. So it came out, if you have any additional ideas for the project, shoot me up. I quickly slinked away and hoped that she had no idea what I just said. This is made better by the setting of a doctor's office hospital. She was probably wondering if you were trying to get drugs from her. Moved into a new house and while unpacking the neighbor came out and introduced herself. We exchanged a couple words and she said nice to meet you and I replied with you're welcome. Never spoke to her again. Deciding the best time to sing karaoke for the first time was on a cruise in front of over 100 people. I also chose to sing No Scrubs without actually knowing the song. Just told this story today. One day a girl showed up in my church youth group. I introduced myself to her. She was on crutches, and I asked, what happened? She looked back at me and said, well, my leg was amputated last week. I looked down. Yup, no leg. Way to be observant. Me. I believe I responded with, oh, I'm sorry. Well, welcome. Then I walked away and hid in the bathroom. Oh man. I was such an idiot as a teenager. Here we go. I was in 8th grade. Like most school kids from the Midwest, a trip to DC was part of the middle school experience. About 2 hours into a 24-hour charter bus ride, Someone remarked that it was hot and we should open up a window. They were obviously joking, as the windows on a charter bus will open, but should only in an emergency due to the fact that they won't close again without some serious tinkering, like with tools. So me, trying to be helpful and confident for once in my life, decided to open it. I also wanted to impress my crush who was sitting in a nearby seat with my resourcefulness. Yeah, big mistake. Beyond the obvious embarrassment of being a moron, I had to spend the rest of the trip to DC holding the window shut. Sleeping became much more complicated as well. Oh, and as I was holding that big, stupid window shut, freezing my head off from the cool night breeze, I got a front row seat to my crush and some cool guy flirting for the remainder of the drive. TLDR. Opened a bus window that shouldn't have been opened. Was an imbecile. I wrote a poem in the 7th grade for English class and read it aloud. At the very end I asked out the girl I liked. She said no. Well, it's good that you're trying to reintegrate yourself into society. Baby steps. In another decade or so, you will have made a full recovery. Mum got diagnosed with cancer. Doctor in the 2. After talking us through options etc makes small talk. Tells me I look like my dad. Nervous me says that's the worst news I've heard all day. The look on people's faces. Dark humor gets me through. Oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Thank you for being you. This is hilarious. True comedy. Went on a great date with a girl this past April. Time to say goodbye. I just give her a freaking handshake. What the frick is wrong with me? When I was 8 I was performing in a musical, youngest in the cast. Age range from 8 mid-60s, most people were young adults. I was goofing around backstage and my friend and I were playing this claw game where we would reach around one of the curtain without looking and grab each other. Well, I thought my buddy was around this curtain and I reach around and feel something squishy and I'm like WTF if this, and keep kind of pawing it to try and find out what it is, and final I walk around the curtain to see I had just been pawing one of the actress's boobs the entire time. I attended a funeral for my friend's grandmother, his mom's side. I'm usually uncomfortable at these kind of situations and don't know what to say to the family of the deceased. So in country when someone dies we say to God we belong and to him we shall return to the relatives. So the moment is here, my turn to say my condolences to my friend's weeping mother. When she looked at me I forgot everything and panicked. So first thing that came to my mind was, you sure she is really dead? On the plus side, she stopped crying. Mainly because confusion had replaced her sadness. I'm never attending a funeral again. I was in my very first day of 3rd grade. The teacher had mentioned something about sharpening pencils and I said yeah, but what's the point, with a super exaggerated cheesy inflection. I thought I was a comedy genius but I got absolutely zero response from anybody except dead silence. I wanted to die. Whenever I think about that though I always cancel it out with the exact opposite memory of mine. In 11th grade we were filling out one of those end of year surveys for what we thought of the teacher. I was on the strengths and weaknesses section and for weaknesses I just wrote up a body. I thought it was just a lame silly joke but I showed it to my friend next to me. He thought it was funny enough that he then loudly yells out, "Hey everybody, listen to what fuck gold cent Bitcoin wrote on his survey," and read it to the class. I wanted to punch him so he would stop. I covered my face in preparation for the embarrassment but was shocked to see the whole class laughing their butt off. Even the teacher thought it was jolly good and challenged me to an arm wrestle. One of my favorite memories. I accidentally farted into a live microphone at a church gig in front of 600-ish people. I'm a drummer and there was a plexiglass sound cabinet around the drums. It does a really good job of isolating the sound of the drums to the mics. Well, I thought the mics were dead in the middle of the sermon. Turns out they were on. They all prayed to the sound of my fart. I am late to the party so I hope this gets buried. In high school I was in the band and we all went out to the bowling alley for fun and bonding time. There was a girl there who forgot a belt and kept pulling up her pants. She went up to bowl as it was her turn and I ran up, grabbed her pants and pulled them all the way down. I ran back joyously thinking I just got one of my buddies. but I didn't even know this girl well at all. I sit down and turn around to see this poor girl hysterically crying to her friends. At this point it hits me how horrible I am, and I am now freaking out because what I did. Everyone was super pissed at me, rightfully of course. I ran up to her and apologized profusely, but she was having none of it. I cringe to this day, and this was almost 30 years ago now. If you happen to be reading this, Sherry, I am so sorry I did that to you. I deserve to get my butt kicked because of that. God, I would need therapy from that, being either party of that situation. R.I.P. Had been drinking all day at a Ren fair. Thought I was hot crap. Got too drunk. Was butthole. Got drunker. Threw up on self. Wasn't aware enough to realize I was in public. Took off my pants. Don't remember much else and honestly avoided learning what else I did that night. Went to a Ren fest as well. Got drunk and started dancing around a fire like an idiot. Next day my hands had blisters. I asked my friend WTF happened. Dude, you were dancing by the campfire by yourself trying to summon spirits and playing hot potato with charcoal by yourself. Cringe. When I was really young, I was in preschool. When this one girl went to the bathroom, she dropped her pants before walking in without turning around. Everyone laughed. So me wanting to get the same reaction, go and do the same thing an hour or two later. Except I made the grave mistake of turning around and seeing who all I had caused to laugh. Actually considered making a tifu about this, but here we are. In 9th grade I'm at the birthday party of a very popular, very pretty classmate. Within 10 minutes of my arrival she comes into the room and says "Lochamelu," and I never went out. The party grinds to a halt. I look at her, feeling the weight of 100 eyes bearing down on me. Reply, "Yeah we did." She replies, "Number, we didn't." And with the image of her and I in a relationship that I know we had, I lose it. In front of fellow classmates and family I call her every name in the book very loudly, which, obviously, gets me kicked from the party. Fast forward a couple years out of high school and the thought of that moment, out of nowhere, pops in my head and I say to myself, we dated in a dream. And the entire non-awakened REM-induced sequence comes flooding back to me. And to this day I had no idea who I told that dream to or who in turn told her. I get physically weak every time I look back at the scene I caused at her birthday party. Needless to say, all my high school relationships, after that point, were not with anyone that attended my school. TLDR. Dreamed about dating a girl. Somehow ended up trying to convince said girl it actually happened. I roll in front of a lot of people. Jesus. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.